The Isle of Wight coastal path is a 70-mile walk which takes you right round the Isle of Wight. You can start wherever you want, but as I was catching the ferry from Portsmouth to Fishbourne, I decided to start in Fishbourne, travelling first from Fishbourne to Cowes, then to Yarmouth, round Freshwater Bay, through Brightstone and Blackgang Chine, and then through Ventnor, Shanklin, Sandown, Bembridge, St Helens, Ryde, and then finally back to Fishbourne, where I caught the ferry home. Well, good morning. It's Monday the 11th of March, and today I'm starting off the Isle of Wight coastal path. I got the train from where I live, just on the south coast, to Portsmouth Harbour, and then walked down to the ferry port, got the 9 o'clock Isle of Wight ferry, which got in at about 9:40. Just left the ferry port. I'm walking anti-clockwise, and I've gone for the easy option of, well, staying in an Airbnb tonight, which would be nice, which is just past Yarmouth, so about 20 miles to do today. And then I'm staying in a pub near Blackgang Chine, so about another 20 miles. And then Bembridge, so again about 20 miles, and then 10 miles on Thursday, on the day to take me back to Fishbourne, if all goes to plan. It's a little bit chilly today, quite grey, but at least it's not raining. Hooray! So the first couple of miles, nothing really to write home about. Just climbing up from Fishbourne through little streets with the back alleys and things like that. But now out a little bit more into the countryside, still on roads, a fair bit of road walking today until we get to West Cowes. I'm doing this walk for a number of reasons. First reason, it's pretty local to where I live, so minimal travel costs and time. And there'll be some nice scenic bits. I'm not sure I'll see a huge amount because it's a bit hazy and might well have some rain. But also I'm doing the coast to coast at the end of next month, end of April. And I want to get some decent miles in to get ready for that. And I've just got myself a new rucksack, an Osprey Exos 48. I did have a Montaigne frameless rucksack. Decided that wasn't going to be quite good enough for the coast to coast, so sold it and bought this. So it's only arrived last week, so it's the first try out for this new rucksack. I've got loads of stuff that I don't need in it, just to give me an idea of what it's like to travel with some weight in it. I suppose I've got about 7 or 8 kilos in it at the moment, and I'll probably have about 9 or 10 for the coast to coast. Certainly not more than 10. As I say, I'm not taking my tent with me during these 4 days. A bit difficult wild camping in some of the Isle of Wight, and few campsites open. So I've got the luxury of an Airbnb tonight and hotels. Well, the actual route of the coastal path takes you past Whippingham on the A3021, which seems to be quite a busy road. So I've turned left down Beatrice Lane, which is signposted for, I think, the cycle route, round Island cycle route, and it's much more pleasant. Much quieter road. Still quite a lot of road walking. Pretty much been on the roads all the time since Fishbourne. Just coming up to a rather interesting church, which I'll show you in a minute. So St Mildred's Church here, which is quite ornate. Rather nice. Don't know anything about it. Just following the road, that will take me to East Cowes. And then across the chain link ferry, assuming it's running, to West Cowes, and then the northernmost tip of the Isle of Wight. So this is on board the Cowes floating bridge, £1 for a single, and that's where we're going. Not exactly far. Fast cats, just leaving Cowes, and down into Cowes there. Well, as you can see, got my hat on now, my down jacket. It was getting quite chilly. We're certainly seeing the coastal bit of the walk really for the first time now. Right alongside the coast. It's still grey and cold, but again, touch wood, no rain. Not exactly a wilderness walk. In actual fact, hardly been out of little towns and villages since I got to the ferry. Hopefully once I get onto the south coast it'll be a little bit more out of the way, but we'll see. It's a pleasant enough walk, and it's nice to be by the sea. Well, I've had to branch inland. There seems to be some detour to the path that leads to a permissive path that gets you onto the cliff, but the permissive path is closed. No sign of any detours or anything like that. So I've had to head south down to the little hamlet of Rue Street, and I'm just going to go through that, and about half a mile after Rue Street there's a footpath on the right that should take me back to the cliff and the coastal path. I have to say, so far I haven't seen an awful lot of the coast, and just past 1 o'clock at the moment, and I've done just over 9.5 miles, so probably about halfway for the day. So just getting back on the coastal path and down by the beach, and there seems to be a lot of windsurfing action here. Loads of people around, and generally the coastal path has been very well signed. There's a little bit on West Cowes where there was no signs, but you can see the signs here, and off we go over the little ford. This next bit's going to be interesting. Seems to be high tide. There's a little bridge over there on the right, but not quite sure how to get to it. There's a public footpath here, so I'm going to climb up there, I think. So yet again, another detour. I couldn't get back onto the coastal path. Well, I probably could have done, but would have been wading through about seawater a metre deep, and I didn't fancy that today. So I cut left following a footpath to Little Thorness. I'm walking down the track south from Little Thorness. I meet a road about half a kilometre, turn right to towards Great Thorness and then pick up the coastal path again. I did manage to do about half a mile on the coast, I suppose, but the rest is pleasant enough walking through little lanes and things like that, but not as much of the coast as I would like to see. So, bit of a trudge across boggy fields. Can you see any sign of the coast on this Isle of Wight coastal path? Because I can't. We've had loads of rain recently, so unsurprisingly the path is quite waterlogged. So I've got about half a kilometre on here and then I join the road, so that should be slightly drier walking. Probably about 7 miles from Yarmouth, and I'm staying about half a kilometre outside Yarmouth to the west. So I'm looking forward to getting there and having a bit of a rest. Well, it's 3:15. I've just stopped outside the new inn in Shalfleet, which is closed, awaiting a new owner. And Shalfleet's a nice little village, but doesn't seem to be anything here. Done about 15 and a bit miles, so another 5 miles to go. So I should get to my Airbnb by 5ish, something like that. Quite a pleasant walk, quite a lot of road walking. I've seen very little of the coast, but I think that will change after today. I'm hoping it'll change, because otherwise it's a bit of a misnomer calling it a coastal walk. But there we are, still very pleasant. And the sun is struggling to come out. There's a little bit of blue sky as well, and it's quite a lot warmer, which is nice. Well, it's 5:20, walking into Yarmouth. Done about 21 miles today. Although the walking was relatively easy, the last 4 or 5 miles were on a very boggy footpath. I almost feel I've got trench foot now. Yarmouth seems a nice little town. Probably got about a kilometre before my Airbnb, and hoping to find a grocery shop to get something for tea. So this is Yarmouth. Nice little sleepy town. Yarmouth is a beautiful little town situated towards the westernmost point in the Isle of Wight on the River Yar. It's actually the second smallest town in Great Britain, and it's got a very nice church and a rather quaint little pier. I was lucky that I found a grocery store that was open. It was well stocked, albeit expensive, and I was able to buy stuff for my tea and for my breakfast the next morning. I then had a short walk of about a mile past the ferry port, over the bridge, to my very nice Airbnb. Well, good morning. It's Tuesday, day 2 of the Isle of Wight coastal path. I slept very well last night. Very nice little Airbnb in West Bay, about a mile west of Yarmouth. Managed to get myself some food, which was good. Lounged around in front of the telly, washed my boots, and slept well. I meant to get up and out a bit earlier today, but I finally left at 9, or about 9:15. Walked up the road and then realised that I'd left my water bottles in the fridge, so I had to go back and get them. Bit of a pain. There we are. So I'm walking towards the western tip of the island today. Got a couple of miles till I get to Colwell, just northwest of Freshwater, and then hopefully I'll actually get on the coast and walk around the Needles. I'm staying at the White Mouse Inn in Blackgang tonight, which is about 20 miles, just going past, turning to Fort Victoria, and picking up the signs to the coastal path again. Bit of a damp old day today, light rain forecast, but actually it's not too bad, and it's moderately warm, so looking forward to a day's walking. Well, we're definitely on the coastal path now. Well, I'm just above Allen Bay now. It's all wet, and as you can hear, it's blowing a hell of a gale. Just be able to see the Needles in the background, and it's very misty. Oh, I'm tired today. Well, I've done about 6.5 miles. We'll see how we go. Unfortunately, there have been loads of path closures, which has meant a lot of backtracking. Oh dear. So Allen Bay, just on the right. Popped in there for a very ambitiously priced pasty and a coffee. Fab views of mist, and just walking round to the old battery. As you can see, the visibility's not great, but there we are. Very windy, but good fun. Tennyson Down lies just at the end of the Isle of Wight, just south of Totland. It's a grassy ridge of chalk which rises to 147 metres above sea level and is named after the poet Lord Tennyson, who lived at nearby Farringdon House for nearly 40 years. Normally there are fantastic views of the Needles and also the monument to Tennyson, but when I visited it was so foggy you could hardly see anything at all. So it's about 1:15, and this is Freshwater Bay. Down it's Freshwater Bay, and then back up the hill and follow the coastal path. I don't know whether it's clearing up slightly, but I can see slightly more than I had before. So Freshwater Bay. It's definitely not as hazy. Coastal path goes slightly to the right up the cliffs. I'm just going to follow the road for about half a mile because there's a coffee shop up there and I fancy a coffee and a little bit of a rest. Well, the cafe that appeared on Google Maps doesn't seem to be there, but there we are. A bit disappointing. And also yet another path closure, which diverted me onto the quite busy road running east out of Freshwater Bay up the hill. But luckily I've joined the path again now. Just stopped for something to eat, sandwich that I brought with me. And we're about 8 miles to go until the White Mouse Inn, which is where I'm staying at Chale near Blackgang. Unfortunately, I thought the mist was lifting, but it seems to have come back down again now. But at least it's not raining at the moment, which is good. It's up onwards and upwards. So it's 4:20. According to my watch, I've walked about 18.5 miles, but I've got about another 4 miles to go. Good couple of miles added on today by the huge number of path closures. I can see why, because there's a tremendous amount of erosion, but it's not very helpful when you just come to the path and find a sign saying path closed with no sign of a diversion or anything, and you just have to backtrack, which is a bit of a pain. But hopefully I'm just going to be back on the path in a minute. I had to walk along the main road again, which is not too great. Just over a stile, should be there. This is the entrance to the White Mouse Inn, which is where I'm staying tonight. It's about 10 to 6. The rain's just about held off. Done nearly 23 miles today. Should have been just under 20, but all the diversions added 2 and a bit miles, which I could have done without. But there we are. Hooray. Looking forward to getting to my room, having a shower, and having something to eat and a nice pint. That's the idea. Hooray!
The White Mouse Inn was a great place to stay, albeit quite expensive. I had a fantastic evening meal, a very nice pint, and a delicious breakfast before starting out the next day.
Well, good morning. Day 3 of the Isle of Wight coastal path, and that's Chale to Bembridge. Stayed at the White Mouse Inn last night. Quite expensive, but nice. Good breakfast. Pottered around a bit and left at 9:30. I'm just at Blackgang Chine, and it's a bit of a grey day today, but a little bit of blue sky. So onwards and upwards. Still quite muddy on these footpaths. And a bit of a climb up. Glad I got my gaiters on, because they've stopped my trousers from getting too mucky. Just gone through St Lawrence, and just around that cove we should get to Ventnor, and then Shanklin Sandown and Bembridge. So just following a little coastal footpath that goes up and down, up and down and up and down, and this is Ventnor. So I might stop for a little bit of rest here. Done nearly 7 miles this morning, so good timing. It's appreciably warm in Ventnor. Feels like I walked into, well, not really a sun trap, but a little bit warmer. So saying goodbye to Ventnor here, looking back in the direction that I've come. I should be walking down by the coast, but there's been a landslip at Bonchurch, and so yet another diversion, which means quite a bit of a climb, but it's rather nice weather. Well, it's still grey, but it's very pleasant, and it's not quite as windy as yesterday, and a lot of the mist seems to have gone, so I'm very happy with that. Well, I stopped in Ventnor, had a nice coffee and a piece of cake, and then the route to the coastal path is closed there, but very helpfully it doesn't tell you when you can get back on it. So I followed the road out up through Bonchurch, which was a stiff old climb, and then halfway through the road it's completely barred off with a very helpful sign saying closed, find alternative route. So I decided to ignore that and squeeze through the barriers to the other side. Still all the footpaths seem to be closed, so there's a little track down here that I'm going to take to hopefully get back to Luckham and back onto the coastal path. But I think it's probably about the 12th closure of the path that I've seen on the walk so far, and it's fine when they give you a diversion, but when they just say find alternative route, particularly after you've done about 18 miles, it's a bit tricky. Mind you, today is a good day for walking. It's well, a little bit of blue sky, still a bit grey, no sign of rain. Forecast said no rain, although possibly rain for tomorrow. Birds are singing, and it's really quite pleasant. So, just coming to the other side of the road closure, I'm going to follow this track down to Luckham. Don't know who's Magna. And see where this takes me. You might be able to see in the distance that little hamlet is Luckham, and then beyond it, Sandown, Shanklin, or it might be Shanklin and Sandown, I can't remember the order, and then Bembridge. So at 1:15, done about 10 miles today. A little bit slow going because there were some very steep climbs, which surprised me in the Isle of Wight, but I should know better. Well, would you believe it? After about a 3-mile diversion, we're back on the coastal path. Hooray! And not too far from Shanklin now, and then up to Sandown, and then Bembridge. Sun's come out, it's a lovely day. So, in the near distance is Shanklin, and then Sandown, and then Culver Cliff, and over Culver Cliff, our destination for tonight, Bembridge, which I can see right, over to the left of Culver Cliff, just above Sandown, to the right of Sandown, but it probably won't show up on here. And I'm hoping that once we get to Shanklin, we can walk down by the sea, and it looks from way away okay, actually. Hopefully all the way from Shanklin to Sandown, and to the end of Sandown we should be able to walk by the sea, which is good. Well, I'm just coming out of Shanklin, getting fed up with the coastal path. There are just so many diversions, so many bits where you go down and find that the path is closed and there's no other diversion. So I'm cutting down and walking along the seafront to Sandown, which I think might be nicer. Well, Shanklin's behind me, and this is more like it. Walking along the prom to Sandown, and I've asked a few people, and they say I can get to Sandown without any diversions. To be honest, if there are any diversions, I'm tempted to just leap in the sea and swim. I'm staying in the Pilot Boat Inn in North Bembridge tonight, and then about 11 miles tomorrow, I'm back to Fishbourne, and then the boat and train home.
So I got to Sandown, feeling a bit tired. Already done nearly 16 miles. Feet were hurting a bit. So I didn't fancy making it a 22 or 23 mile day. So I jumped on a bus for a couple of miles to Peacock Hill and thought, oh, what? I'll join the path again now and just do the last 3 miles into Bembridge. Walk for about a mile, and there do we see the path is closed, no diversion at all. So down this footpath, very muddy footpath, into Bembridge. Well, it's 4:45. I've walked 18 miles today. Just north Bembridge, just coming to where I'm staying at the moment, the Pilot Boat Inn. Unfortunately their kitchen's closed, which is a shame, but there's a chippy about half a mile up the road, so I'm going to go in, sit down, have a shower, and then wander up to the chippy, and then I might go for a pint in the bar, assuming that's open. We'll see. So here's the Pilot Boat Inn. Well, good morning and welcome to day 4 of the Isle of Wight coastal route. Stayed in the Pilot Boat Inn behind me, which was very pleasant actually. Pity they didn't have any food, but I did pop in there for a pint of White Knuckle IPA, their own brewery. I was the only person in the pub, but it was a delicious pint. Very friendly people there and a nice breakfast. And look, the sun's out. So, that's not a good start. Going the wrong direction. Trying to remember where I came from. So, only about 10 miles today to Fishbourne and the ferry home. Walking past a whole load of houseboats. And they really are houseboats. Sort of houses plonked on a great big bathtub. Tide's out at the moment, but I've walked past here before and I do know they float. Slightly busy bit of the road. Yes. But then we get across to the harbour on the other side and it should be a bit quieter. So we've come out of Bembridge into St Helens and just across the little bridge. The other side of the harbour, straight ahead you can see those houseboats that I walked past. Rather nice day. The reason I chose the Isle of Wight coastal path, as I said on Monday, was that it's pretty close to where I live. I know the Isle of Wight moderately. It's been nice to walk round it. I thought I'd challenge myself to do it in 3.5 days. And they've been long days, but they've been okay. Feet have been pretty tired by the end of it. But no blisters, and it's always a bit hard when you start off the next day. It takes a mile or so for your feet to acclimatise, but it's been all right. I also wanted to try out my new Osprey Exos 48 rucksack.
which has been fab. I've bunged a whole load of stuff into it to imitate what I'll be taking on the coast to coast in end of next month, and it's been nice and easy to carry. I've got an Atmos 65 that I used last year on the West Highland Way and Hebridean Way, which was also great, but the bigger the rucksack, the more you end up putting in, and it was a bit too heavy. I've also tried out a few other things. Very pleased to put my gaiters in. They've helped keep my feet dry, and also I should have worn them on day one. I started wearing them on day two, but they kept my walking trousers moderately presentable. So particularly when I was going to eat in the bar afterwards, or after each night, I wasn't caked in mud. Today I'm wearing my Bridgedale waterproof socks, which I haven't worn before. I always use Bridgedale socks, merino socks, and they've been great. These are waterproof, as I say, so I'll be interested to see what they're like. They feel fine at the moment, but it's been a good opportunity to try out kit and get a few miles in my legs. So this is Seagrove Bay. And just to the left of that huge container ship, you can just see the lipstick and the Spinnaker Tower in Gunwharf over on the mainland. About 4 kilometres to ride. I'm going to stop in Ryde and have a coffee. Just walked through Seaview, which is rather a sweet little town. Just going along the sort of harbour wall now. And in the distance, about 3 kilometres away, I can see Ryde Pier. Interesting. Let's hope this gate opens. Yes. Oh, big floodgate there. Ryde Pier, and then the mainland with Spinnaker Tower and Portsmouth in the South Sea. Well, that was good timing. So, got about a mile to go. Just in the background, you might just be able to see Quart Abbey. A bit difficult to spot through the trees, but rather a nice place to go for a wander around and a nice tea room. I thought at this stage, and I've walked 8 miles today, so 73 in all, I'd just give you my final views on the Isle of Wight coastal path. Well, first of all, the pros. It's good exercise, surprising amount of ups and downs. When the sun's out, it's lovely and some beautiful views. And also a big advantage of doing it now, March, is you avoid a lot of tourists. So I haven't seen too many people in the 3.5 days walking. It's easy to get to. You get the ferry straight from Portsmouth Harbour. It's about a 10-minute walk from the train station to the ferry. Jump on the ferry. Ferry leaves every hour. I think it was £24 return. Takes you straight to Fishbourne, and you're about 200 yards from the route. Once you get to the west of the island, that's by far the best part. Going down the south of the island, some beautiful views. If you haven't been to the Isle of Wight, it's very much like going back in time about 50 years. It's rather quaint, but very pleasant. And another good thing is plenty of places to stay. I think I spent around about £70 a night. The White Mouse Inn was a little bit more expensive, but the Pilot Boat Inn was cheap. So plenty of places to stay, and also quite a lot of little tea shops, coffee shops, places to get something to eat and drink. Biggest negative is the huge amount of path closures, really poorly signed. Some of them have clear diversions, but quite a lot of them don't. It made the walking fairly frustrating at times, particularly when you've done sort of 16 or 17 miles following the path and just come upon a sign that says path closed, find your own way, and there's no clear diversion. So Isle of Wight Tourist Board, get it sorted. There's a list of diversions on their website, but it doesn't really mean much. If they just put a map of the coastal path and showed you where the path is closed, it would really help, and also showed you the alternative routes. If you do come in March, it's fairly muddy, or after wet weather, it is fairly muddy, so be prepared for that. Would I recommend it? Well, not at the moment, purely because of the huge number of diversions. But once they get that sorted, it's worth a trip, especially if you haven't been to the Isle of Wight before.